right, everyone. Hi and welcome. My name is Sierra Ladroma. I'm the project manager for the Iowa Center's Women's Business Center. The Iowa Center's Women's Business Center is funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the U.S. Small Business Administration. All of you will receive an email with a form to complete. Please do so after this event. This information allows us to continue providing free educational programming for small business owners in Iowa. Throughout the webinar, feel free to pull up the chat option and ask questions or just join the conversation. Today, we're spending time with Sally Cooper-Smith on getting the most out of the inbox. Sally is the president and creative director of Cooper-Smith & Company, a marketing and design firm she founded in 1993. Sally works with founders and entrepreneurs to grow their businesses through more effective branding, advertising, and communications online and off. Sally, thank you so much for spending your time with us today. The screen is yours.
Well, thank you so much, Sierra. I'm going to set this up and share my screen with you all, if it allows. So it's saying, there we go. I do believe we're good to go. All right, Sierra, shout. I can't see the chat, so I'm gonna let Sierra moderate if you all see anything as we go through here. And I'm so excited today to talk to you about getting more out of your email marketing. I'm calling this getting the most out of your inbox, but it's not just your inbox, it's their inbox. And that's what's most important, because being in someone else's inbox is a huge privilege. And that's the first cardinal rule about email marketing, is if they've given you an email address and given you permission to email to them, that's huge. It's like an invitation to the party. And you need to respect that. And we'll talk about some of the ways to do that and just make the most out of this. What? There we go. So we're going to talk today primarily about in terms of MailChimp and Canva, but what I'm talking about will really apply to any email marketing service that you like to use. I recommend MailChimp for small businesses or individuals who are just starting out with their email marketing. It's honestly very robust and yet very easy to use. It's a super friendly platform. So let's talk a little bit first about why you would even want to use email for your marketing or communications. First reason, it's safe. There are precautions in place that help ensure that your emails get to the right places, do not have viruses in them, help you help your constituents and your email folks by guaranteeing that it is done safely. It's also cheap. And for instance, MailChimp, if you have 500 or less contacts in your database with MailChimp, it's free. And even if you go over 500, it's really very affordable on a month-by-month basis. That means you can talk to 500 people every month free. Really doesn't get better than that. Email is also trackable. Within your email client, like MailChimp, you're going to get reports every week sent to you automatically. You'll also have a dashboard within the program where you can go and check the performance of your email list, who has joined, who has unsubscribed and stepped out, how your emails are doing. All of the information will be right there for you. And it actually spoils my clients. Once they start really working with digital trackable communications tools, things like direct mail start to get very annoying because you don't know who even saw it. Email is also automatable. if that's a word. You can set up your emails so that they email automatically, perhaps when a sale is made or when someone clicks on something on your website or signs up for it. You can set up all kinds of triggers that will email something automatically in the middle of the night, if that's how you have it set up. Completely within your control and can happen without you doing anything at the time. It's a set it and forget it technology that's really helpful for entrepreneurs. It's also targeted. We're going to talk more about this and why it is so important. But again, if you think about being in an email inbox as being a privilege, you want to make sure that you're sending the right information to the right person. I don't know if you've received emails from something. I know I get probably 75 of them a day that are absolutely spam, just sent to every email they've got, has no relation to me whatsoever. I couldn't be less interested in it. That is so annoying. And if this is somebody you're actually trying to win the heart and mind of, you do not want to annoy them. Target your lists, segment them, sort your people into groups so that you can send them the information that applies to them, that's relevant for them every single time. So email is targeted. But let's get into a little more of the nuts and bolts about how you can do your email marketing better. I'm trusting you probably have dabbled in it a little bit already. I'm going to help you get even better. The first tip is about your subject lines. Subject lines are critical. This is a screen of my Gmail, actually from yesterday, I think it is. Yes, very recent. And you can see how the subject line sits in there. You can also see, and we'll talk about this later, whoops, apparently if I move my mouse, it messes you up. You can see how the from line, in this case it says Sticker Mule or DJI or Ink This Morning. The from line is very considered. It doesn't just say Stacy@inkmagazine.com. It actually says Ink Events or Ink This Morning. Then the subject lines are short and sweet. They sit in there nice and tight. And then they have used pre-headers. Your pre-header will either be the body copy, the first few lines, few characters of the body of your email, or you can actually write a pre-header. So where you see the first entry, custom packing tape makes it easy, ... That's not the actual email, that's pre-header copy they've put in there. Depending upon the settings that your receiver has, some people have 2-line pre-headers, 3-line pre-headers, a limited number of characters. That's kind of up to you. If your pre-header is short and the receiver has a longer pre-header allowed within whatever email software they're viewing in, it will start to read the remainder of your email. So in this case, it might say, custom packing tape makes it easy to identify your packages. Dear Sally. And then it would go on and talk about the rest of the email. But have some thought, and most of all, test it. Also, use emojis with caution. So you can see where when the email ends up in the body of it, if you start using a lot of emojis in your subject line or even in your pre-header, it gets looking very cartoonish very quickly. Now, if that's appropriate for your brand and where you want to be, by all means, use emojis like crazy. But if you're sending out a professional email, use them with caution, just on the rare occasion to throw something in. Tip number 2, know who that sender is. In other words, remember where when we looked at who that from line was, in this case, Sticker Mule? It doesn't just say the email address. They've actually gone into the software program, into MailChimp, and you can actually designate how you want that to appear. So instead of it just being your email address, I can go in on mine, for instance, say the sender is Sally Cooper Smith, not just sally@coopersmithco.com. Oh, and there's my emojis again. Oh well. Apparently it's very important. Number 3, your emails must be responsive. One of the things that you're going to get to see in your stats, depending upon your mail service, is the number of emails that are read on a mobile device. And that's just going to drive home for you. It's often 60%. Certainly more than 50% of your emails will be read on a smartphone. That means the text in your emails needs to be read without pinching, going in there and enlarging all that copy and then scooting the email around to read long lines. If that's the way your email is set up, I can guarantee they won't read it, not more than the first couple of sentences. So make sure that you're working with an email service provider, also referred to as an EMS or an ESP, that uses responsive templates. All of MailChimp's templates are, but so are Constant Contacts. I haven't even checked Aweber or GetResponse, but I know that they've got to have responsive templates as well. Some of them have legacy templates. If you've been on the platform for a while and you've been emailing, you may be using an email template that predates the responsiveness, and so the emails you're sending today are not responsive. If that's the case, it's time to rebuild that e-newsletter into a new template. Responsive emails will actually reorganize the page. So for instance, if you have a photo on the left and copy on the right, or vice versa, as you have your email formatted, in mobile, it will stack those. So just be aware as you're working with responsiveness that it's going to kind of rejigger your layout, but I want you to test it. So when you set up your email, you're going to have the opportunity to send a test email. Always, always, always send a test email to yourself and check it on your desktop and on your mobile, and make sure all of your links actually work. So they must be responsive. Now let's talk a little bit about photos. Using photos in your emails are proven to improve your open rates and the depth of the email that someone will read. If you've got a longer email, it's an e-newsletter, it's 2 or 3 screens deep, you better be using photos as you go. And they better be quality photos. Throwing just anything in there just doesn't work. People, they can sense right away that it's almost clickbait. It's cheesy, and they won't keep going. So look into quality stock photos. There are several sources for free, but even paid stock photos can be as little as $15 an image. It's worth it. This is also where I will suggest that you look at Canva. If you've not tried canva.com, go there and set up an account. It's free. They have a lot of great photos and images that are available for you, and you can crop them within the software, actually export them from there and put them into your email program. Canva is fantastic for really making your email look professional. and get you some high quality visuals. Number 5, while still photos are good, a moving photo is even better. Now, videos won't play embedded into an email. If you have a video, you're going to want to just create a still screenshot of a single frame and use that in your email as something that can be clicked out to. But a GIF, an animated GIF, will play in an email. There are several ways to create a GIF snippet of an email so that you can have maybe a 6-second little bit of your video that loops. Those are really popular. They look great, and they actually, depending upon what you're able to get, say for instance, you have a video of the CEO talking, you can have the GIF of the person standing there talking and, you know, gesturing on a loop. Even though there's no sound, it looks like you're actually watching the video run. It's very compelling and encourages people to click on it and then go actually view your video. But animation for the sake of just illustration isn't the only thing that can move. You can animate your buttons. You can animate your headlines. You can have infographics that show the milk filling up in the bottle. All of those things can be animation and within your email. It really helps somebody open it and get sucked in when there's this little bit of animation that they can't help themselves but watch. Number 6, so we've talked about what's at the very top, your header. Let's talk about the footer. If you're using a free program, they're going to put their logo in there. So Constant Contact, MailChimp, any of those, they're going to put their logo at your footer, and you're not going to be able to get around that until you actually get a paid account. But don't become blind to everything that's down there. Make sure that you are putting your correct information in there, that there is a current address, a physical address. You can add phone numbers, you can add links to your website, you can have a link to directions in a Google map. You can have your social icons. And most importantly, if you're emailing outside the United States to the EU, and as of the 1st of January, even California, you need to abide by their privacy restrictions. In January 1, California adopted a similar program that the EU has that's referred to as GDPR. And that says that any recipient of your email needs to have access to their profiles to be able to know what information you're collecting and be able to edit it or delete it as they need to, which means every email needs to have the ability to unsubscribe and, if possible, update their profile. Now, if you're on a free level of a platform, you may not have very robust profile updating ability, but you can have a little footnote that says, had changes to name or address, email us and let us know. You can have that kind of access information right there in the footer of your email. So put some time to it so that you're sure your footer is accurate for you. It will make a difference not only in having a professional looking email, one that looks like you know what you're doing, but it also affects your reputation as a sender. That's something we'll get to a little bit later, but your sender reputation is one of the things that keeps you out of spam filters. So the better your reputation, the more professional your emails. Do you have GDPR compliance? Do you have unsubscribes in there? Is your full address in place? That helps improve your sender reputation. So your footer is important for more than one reason. 7, make it easy to respond to your email. One of the biggest mistakes in email marketing is for people who just send them out and don't realize that it's the equivalent of calling someone on the phone. It's as though they're sending emails expecting to get an answering machine. If you send emails expecting to start a conversation, you'll have much higher open rates on that particular email and going forward. Engage your audience whenever possible. So make it easy to respond with buttons that click and go somewhere. Make sure if you do have photos, they link to something. If you have links within your email that are image-based only, so you have a button and perhaps there's a long URL that's behind that button. I have had situations, particularly with Gmail and Hotmail, that they're stripping the links out of visual linking information in emails. They'll send them through, but the buttons don't work. Again, that's a good reason to test it and to test your emails in multiple platforms. But actually, even when we tested that, in our case, they were testing fine in Gmail, but they were still stripping out when we'd send. And for the client that we were working with in this case, we were sending over 13,000 emails. So getting 13,000 emails out there where the links didn't work was really a problem. So we started repeating the links in their long form as sort of sub copy at the end of the email. Just a little PS, if the links aren't aren't working for you, here's these. Here's where you go to view the video, long URL. Here's how you sign up for the next webinar, long URL. We put all of those in there in long form as well, because the email services won't strip those out. So that's what I meant by repeating your links. Sometimes it's safer just to do that. Number 8, as great as photos or videos or animated GIFs are, the reality is some people turn off photos. I do. On my smartphone, my default within my email viewer is no photos. I do it because they load so much faster. And they also cut down on the amount of memory that my phone sucks up. And because I'm a designer and I'm in a very visual industry, I get a lot of photos in my emails. So I strip them out. I have to want to see your photos and purposefully turn on see hidden images when I view your email. I subscribe to at least 10 different daily blogs or emails that come through my email every morning. And there are 2, I will always turn on the photos. Now, if I don't turn on the photos though, I need there to be some sort of a caption or an alt tag, otherwise known as an image tag, so I know what I'm missing. There will be a hole in my email, but if it says woman crossing the street with baby wearing mask, I'll know, oh, okay, yeah, sure. Or if there's a caption that explains the California wildfires, then I get it. The content still works for me without photos. And that's important. So remember how email is targetable? Because of that, email software has what are called merge tags built into them. You can address your emails directly to a person's name. When you write your email, you're going to be able to go into a little merge tag and you're going to be able to pull up first name, last name, company, all manner. If you have the data in the email account and it's under a category or a label, you're going to be able to access that. You're going to be able to include it in the email. You could say, and you're going to be able to target and set up your emails for that information. Say, for instance, you know you're doing a webinar in Nebraska next month. You should be able to take your list, sort it for everybody in Nebraska, put together an email that says, hey, Sally, we're going to be in Omaha on Tuesday. Would love to have you stop by. Well, that sounds really personal. And I respect that you actually know where I live and what's happening for it, and that you're delivering me content that's valuable. Because it's valuable because I'm in Nebraska and you're going to be in Nebraska, and that's kind of cool. It allows you to segment, to sort, and to address them as people, not a group, not an audience. That's so important for your email. The more you know about your audiences, the more you know about these segments of people, the more personal you can be. And ultimately, the better you'll be able to automate messages to them. Because again, if we use our visiting in Nebraska scenario, if you can set up your email program, and the MailChimp doesn't have quite this level of sophistication, you can step up to programs that do, that actually tie into your calendar so that you can create an event on a calendar, tag it, work through an API program that communicates that to your email program, that triggers that we're going to be in your area email automatically. But that means you've got to be thinking about your email audience as people right from the beginning. Number 10, be consistent. Again, it's a privilege to be in their inbox. Don't drop in unexpectedly. If you email a newsletter every Wednesday morning by 9 a.m., by gum, come heck or high water, that email better be in there by 10 a.m. And it had better be worth looking at every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Because you have built the reputation that that's what you're going to do. You've been invited to show up that day. To be invited into an inbox at a specific time and you build a consistency, and then not do it is the equivalent of being late for a meeting. If you abhor people who are late, you should equally abhor people who have inconsistent emailing habits. If you build a consistent email system, consistent schedule and habit, it allows you to break that system for a breaking news, for something special that happens. Because it's odd. I expect you Wednesday mornings, and it's Friday evening, and there's some, hey, this last thing is just happening. I noticed that. Where if you're sending just at any old random time, all the time, no matter what, I can't tell a late breaking one from just another random piece of information. So we just worked with a client to set up their consistent schedule. They were emailing 5 days a week and sometimes twice on a single day. We helped them assign topics to particular days and create email templates that are each branded but unique. So on Thursdays, they send a weekender update. It's everything that's going to be going on Thursday. And on Wednesday, we send member news. It's everything that's happening with members. And on Mondays, we send organizational news. This is everything that's happening internally. Here are classes, here are workshops, here are webinars. We built this program out for the West Des Moines Chamber. And then we also built for them an email template that goes just to their members once a month. And it's much more in-depth information on some of the stories they may have seen in the weekly Tuesday emails. We've branded each of those, gave them each a home in terms of this is their time, they're invited into an inbox. And now we're building out their email list to be able to segment those and make sure the right people are getting them at the right times. It's that important. So not only do you need to be at those same times, but then because you don't preview that whole email, you only preview the subject line and pre-header, those need to be consistent enough that somebody knows that's who you are. Because they will delete that email before they have opened it. So in the case of the chamber, it actually says WDM News, WDM Weekender, WDM On the Spot. They know their subject lines have to say what it is and that their from line is consistent, that it says West Des Moines Chamber. It's not random, this one's from Bailey and this one's from Cara and this one's from so-and-so. They're consistent. It's one voice going out. Make sense? Number 11, so it's 10 tips and a bonus. Here's your 11th. Watch your results. This is actually a screenshot of a MailChimp that we use. In the last week, we had 2 new contacts. You can see how some of the tags were associated in there. What we've got for landing page results. All of those things are possible within your MailChimp. You can create landing pages. You can segment all of your audiences. You can have a sign-up form that's built directly within MailChimp that you can use. In fact, to show you how it works, I invite you to go to our website, and I believe Sierra put the link to our website in your chat. And you'll see a sign up for partway, most of the way down the page, for our postograms. Postograms come out every other Thursday, about 9 a.m. And they're tiny little postcard-sized marketing tips and bits of inspiration. They're really visual. They look kind of like a postcard, fun little visual on one side, often animated. And the other side is just a quick hit of a tip. They take about 10 seconds to read, but there's also always some sort of a little takeaway. There's something you can go to read more, a little piece you can do on your own. If you want more information, there's more there, but it's often just enough. We find that folks in marketing positions, either marketing execs or even just corporate execs, love it just because they're like, oh, I heard that term in Cooper Smith's postogram. Yeah, I know about that. Yes, I heard about somebody using Trello for their project management. That's very cool. I've never used it myself, but I know about it. Actually, we do use it. But we did a postogram about it, different project management softwares. So I invite you to go there, try it, sign up. When you do sign up, you'll actually be using the MailChimp sign up landing page app within our program. And you'll also see the archive. You can go in there and see, I think it's 50 of the last postograms that we've done. Follow your results. That'll tell you not only what your open rates are and your click rates, which are people always like to track, but it'll show you what they clicked on. Are they clicking on the first link that you offered or the last link that you offered? If you've got a deep email, that's going to be very important to you. How far do they get down your email? You'll find that the clicks definitely diminish the deeper the email is, and that may encourage you to write shorter emails. But you also might find that a large majority of your folks stay with you all the way to the end. But you're not going to know that unless you check your results. You're going to know how many new people have been added to your list, how many have dropped off. And depending upon your software, you may have feedback as well. Not only do they unsubscribe, but they'll tell you why. That information is gold, but only if you look at it. So check your results. So there's 10 tips plus one to get you better email marketing. But let's talk about one last thing, the dreaded spam folder. Of course, nobody likes thinking that their email recipients have this on their phone. 147,000 unread emails. And yours might be one of them. We want to make sure that they read them and they stay out of their spam folder. So there are about 4 or 5 tips here for staying out of a spam folder. The first one, use a reputable management system like MailChimp. Constant Contact, Aweber, GetResponse, MyEmma. Is MyEmma even still around anymore? They're valid. And what they have done is built a reputation in the internet to be able to send mass emails. Do not use your own email address to send to more than 10 people at a time. Certainly not more than 20. If you do, you risk being blacklisted by the internet servers. That you look like a spammer. If you go through someone like MailChimp, you can send 500, you can send 13,000 at a time and not be blacklisted. Your reputation counts. And by this, I mean your sender reputation. When you set up your software, like your MailChimp, be sure you verify your email address. You can have more than one email address within your program that you can choose as to which sender you want to send from, but they all must be verified. Now, if you've verified your address from within the program, but you're still getting what feels like a lot of unopens, and you suspect it's because they're going into spam, or you've actually had people say, hey, I found your email, but it was in my spam folder. You may have to verify more deeply. I urge you to check with an IT contact who can help you go through your domain address and set up SPF records and DKIM. Those are a higher level of verification at domain level, so that if you're sending through your company email address, for instance, ours at coopersmithco.com, we have full DKIM set up at server level for our domain. Those things will help make sure that you're not in a spam folder. As odd as it sounds, you'd rather have them unsubscribe than not open or end up in spam. So be sure that your email at the bottom allows people to unsubscribe and or opt out of particular emails. So for instance, with West Des Moines Chamber, we're setting all of that up so that somebody can choose, I want your Thursday email, but not your Friday. Keep your lists clean. So if your email list is full of typos, those will definitely bounce, of course. But if you're sending lists that consistently bounce a lot or don't have opens, you have a very low open rate, MailChimp will not deliver as robustly. They actually have different levels of servers, different DNS that they use based on sender reputation. And if your lists aren't clean, if your open rates are really low, they'll bump you down. So if you want really good open rates and you want high deliverability, keep your lists clean. If you have new people added to your lists frequently, once a month go through and look for typos. I don't know how many times I've seen people transpose Gmail or type a comma.com when that's not what they meant. And finally, stop sending to people that don't open your emails. It's kind of like calling somebody and leaving a message on their voicemail. If they're not returning your call, they don't want to hear from you. Stop filling up their answering machine. It's the same situation with an email. If you stop sending to unopens and once a year you go through and you just clean those guys out, put them in another folder, your open rates soar, obviously, because you're sending to a tighter group that want what you're sending. And if you've got good open rates, they'll bump you up to better DNS. Where if you're continually sending to the same group and your open rates are not great, they'll actually bump you down. So go through once a year and clean out what we call dead emails. The lights are on, but nobody's home. Take them out. So that's a little bit, kind of a lot, sorry, of ways to help you do some better emailing with your marketing. Now let's just talk about the fun stuff. Let's talk about how to make it groovy and good. The first piece of that is to use canva.com. As I said before, super robust platform, absolutely free. You can go through there and create designs for all of your social. You can plug in any dimension that you want to have a graphic for. If you know that your email's got a 300 by 250 hole and you want to drop a photo in there, you can make a template just for that. Name it, sort it, save it. You can have as many people as you want contributing to it. It's a fabulous little program, and we create these for all of our clients. Oddly enough, I'd much rather my clients spend their money on us to do high-level design or strategy and train them how they can build images for their emails or social media by using Canva. We can load their logos in here. We can create color palettes and font palettes that they work with, set up style guides and standards. It keeps them on brand. It keeps everything looking consistent, and it's super easy. I'm not an affiliate for Canva. I get nothing from it, whether you use it or you don't. Just sharing with you that we've loved it. Second of all, as I said, I love MailChimp, but not just for email, but also because it acts as a source for your landing pages, opt-in pages, and customer management. If you load a clean list into your program, you know, names are spelled correctly. They're all oriented correctly with, you know, capital letter for the first letter and lowercase for the other. You've either written out street or you've abbreviated it. Everything's consistent and clean when you load up your lists. It stays that way. And you can go in then as your customers update information, as you get more customers, you just keep building that list, and it's a source completely stored in the cloud. You don't have to worry that somebody's lost the Excel file or that a computer's gone down that has that information. All that customer management can happen within your email program. It actually serves as a content management system or contact management system. Super simple, very clean, and free if you use it the right way and use it. So that's what I've got for you today. We burned through almost 50 minutes. I can hardly believe it already. Sarah, do we have some questions from anybody?
There are just a couple. You had mentioned the making the buttons and the links on the emails and things like that. How do you do that?
Well, you know, you can create the animated buttons actually in Canva, export them as an animated GIF from Canva, and you just, you know, in your email where it says, would you like to upload an image? You just upload that GIF and use it within the email.
Mm-hmm.
Then when you assign a link to it as a button, it's the same way you do with anything else. So essentially a photo is a button if there's a hot link behind it. It's linkable.
And I believe Canva has maybe some tutorials where people can look it up of how to use those hyperlinks and how to set one up as well.
I believe they do, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, experiment with it a little bit. You'll see it immediately.
Yeah.
We're also creating some documentation, full disclosure. I'm developing a program for solopreneurs and startups that help them use MailChimp and Canva and really provide some of those instructions for them. It's not quite ready for prime time yet, but if anybody's interested in having that when we release that later this year, please email me.
That's awesome. That's exciting news. Okay, another question is, besides the length of an email, how much info is just too much?
You know, the answer to that question is that depends. You kind of have to look at yourself and your test audience. You know, is the information so valuable they're going to read it? I subscribe to the New York Times daily, and they're deep. They are deep. Each story is maybe only a couple of paragraphs long, but there's probably 8 of them every day. And on the weekend, it's even deeper because they've got recipes and all this. But the information is so great.
I know, yeah. I do that every morning.
Exactly. That's one of the ones I turn on the images because the photos are beautiful. And by gum, I scroll all the way down to the end because that recipe, it's just, I look at it, it's like, yes, I do want to make that.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
there's
really
always
good
some
example.
last little delicious thing at the end that make you go all the way to the bottom.
Yeah, okay.
So, you know, it just depends.
All right, another question is, as far as being either product-based or service-based, how do you know when to include your prices in an email?
Oh gosh, you know, that's completely down to your messaging. Completely down to your messaging and whatever it is. Now, if you've got a service or a product that's essentially negotiable to some extent, there's no point in having a hard price because it's going to vary for everybody. You can publish ranges. You can publish starting prices. You know, we've all seen software service products that say starting at $39 a year. Well, that's per user, per month, per whatever. Once you actually get on the website, you realize that's not really what it costs, but okay. So yeah.
Yeah, okay. Another question we have is, what would be a polite professional example of asking a potential subscriber, can I email you? Or other strategies you use to build the email subscriber list?
Wow, lead acquisition, that's a good one. That really comes down to having some sort of a capture program. So just as we talked about MailChimp allows for landing pages, you can have something on a landing page that someone can only get by giving you an email address. So maybe you have a case study, maybe you've got a recipe book, maybe you've got some sort of a helpful guide that someone can get by downloading or by email after they give you their email address. And there's a checkbox or some sort of an underline right there that says, by providing me your email address, you're agreeing to me being able to email you. You have to have that language there for the sake of the GDPR and the California protection laws now, the CCCP. But they call that gated content.
Mm-hmm.
The content is behind an email gate. They can only get it by giving up some of their information. There are a million tricks to acquire addresses. It all comes down to what are you going to give them. Sometimes it's a video, sometimes it's access to a webinar or a course or a class, or it's something that you download, or it's membership into some sort of a program. Any of that stuff can essentially be lead acquisition.
Okay, great. One more question. What are some examples of subject lines that you have thought, okay, I'm going to click on this. This is good.
Oh, wow. You know, just Google great subject lines or Google top subject lines. There's a ton of research on it. I don't have anything that comes to my mind right now. I know I have seen some that I have thought, okay, that's a brilliant subject line. Typically, it's something that's extremely relevant in the moment. So it almost feels as though somebody was reading your mind.
Mm.
You know,
So it's kind of knowing your audience.
It's really knowing your audience.
Okay, awesome. Those are all the questions I have, but I would love to do a quick pitch for the upcoming programs at the Iowa Center.
Sure.
So the Iowa Center has incredible programs coming up. These programs are designed with the entrepreneur in mind. Prepping for a loan, understanding your finances, taxes for your business, and growing your business after you've been in business for, let's say, a couple or a few years. These are some of the focus points for the upcoming programs that you can find at the Iowa Center. So I can go on and on about these. Instead, all of you will get a link to follow up. We would love to talk about the upcoming programs. Please connect with us and see if these programs would be a good fit for you and your business. We would love that. So Sally, thank you so much for your time today. Always a pleasure. Always such good information. You will find this recording up on our website here in, I would say, in a couple days. Other than that, I hope you have a great day.